In this video, we're going to be talking about compound inequalities. So let's begin. The pH level of a shampoo is between 6.0 and 6.5 inclusive. Write a compound inequality to show the pH levels of this shampoo. Graph the solutions. Well, the lower boundary of the pH level is 6.0. And the upper boundary is 6.5. The word inclusive means that it can also include those numbers. What we do is we put our variable, we have to put our variable in between the x. So this is the pH level of the shampoo. And we're basically saying x can be between 6.0 and 6.5. We then make arrows going to the left. That's standard notation. Your arrows always go to the left like this in a compound inequality. And since it can include the values, we put lines underneath. Now the way we graph this, here's 6.0 and 6.5. X can equal those values, and it can also fall in between them. So we draw a line in between. Okay? Now it says solve each compound inequality and graph the solutions. This is exactly the same thing as when we solved inequalities before, we solved equations. The only thing is now there are three parts. Draw a line down through each arrow. That is going to help you more than anything. Now, the way we would normally get x alone is we subtract 1. But now we need to subtract it from 3 places rather than just 2 like before. So -5 minus 1 is -6. The 1's cancel, so we have x in the middle, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So we have our inequality. I'll write it up here. -6 is less than x, which is less than 1. Now we're going to graph this. So we have -6 and 1. Now in this case, there are no lines underneath the arrow, so we have open dots. And there we have it. And x falls between them. All right, so let's try this one. Again, draw your lines down through. We want to get x alone, so we start by adding 1 to each side. So we have 9 is less than 3x because your 1's cancel, which is less than or equal to 12. Now we have to divide everything by 3, so that means on all 3 sides. So I have 3 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 4. So in this case, here's our 3 and 4, our lower and upper boundaries. 3 has got a less than symbol associated with it, so it's an open dot. 4 has less than or equal to, so that's got a closed dot. And now we just connect the two. Now this next one, an OR. Whenever you have an OR involved, you just have 2 separate inequalities to solve the way you normally would. So you have 8 plus t is greater than or equal to 7. You're going to solve that. And then you're going to solve 8 plus t is less than 2. It's just like having 2 problems. So in the first one, we subtract 8 from each side. So we have t is greater than or equal to -1. On the other side, we subtract 8. So we have t is less than -6, and just put an OR between them. And we just graph both answers on the same number line. So here is -6, here's -1. T is greater than or equal to -1, closed dot going to the right. T less than -6. We have an open dot going to the left. So next, let's say we have this one. 4x is less than or equal to 20, or 3x is greater than 21. So we're just going to solve each one separately. First one, divide each one by 4. So I have x is less than or equal to 5. Second one, just divide by 3. And I have x is greater than 7. And just put an or in between them. Graph both of those answers on the same number line. So we have 5 and we have 7. X is less than or equal to 5 is a closed dot on 5 with an arrow going to the left. And x greater than 7 is an open dot on 7 with the arrow going to the right. This one, write the compound inequalities shown by each graph. Well, they're going in opposite directions, so I know I'm going to have an or in between them. So the first one is x is less than or equal to -8. I use a line underneath the arrow because it's a closed dot. The next one, it's an open dot, so I'm going to have x, and it goes to the right, so it's going to be greater than 0. Last one. This inequality falls between -2 and 5, so I've got a lower boundary of -2 and an upper boundary of 5. I'm going to have to put my x in the middle. Arrows always go to the left when you're writing these inequalities. And there is no there is no dot filled in, so I will not have to put a line underneath. So I will just keep it as -2 is less than x, which is less than 5. Thank you for joining me today. That's all.